This is an 8-course Renaissance lute. It features in my story for the Fractured Fairytales anthology. So I'll just read you a little piece from that. The title of the story is The Tender Strokes of Music. The castle of Ulmea lay bleak in a light before dawn, the thick layer of snow on its buttresses not softening its appearance. Hob Alendeleibu gazed with a mix of relief and trepidation at the building after a long, exhausting climb up the snowy mountain, stiff fingers clutching the handle of his lute case. He had begun to regret his life choices. "You are the music healer?" The old guardsman's voice sounded flat in the frosty morning air. Hob nodded. "Duke Alexander is gravely ill. There is no time to lose," the guard said. He preceded Hob through broad, draughty halls, up winding staircases, into a large room where the Duke lay in a massive ebony four-poster bed. The patient looked serene and pale. Hob glanced around, trying to locate his adversary. If the patient looked like this, death was never far away. As he expected, the cloaked, faceless figure of death skulked in a far corner of the room, melting in and out of the finely woven lowland tapestries, easily mistakable for the play of shadows cast by the dancing flames of the hearth upon the wall. At the direct gaze of a human being, death slunk away. A good sign. The lack of boldness in Death's demeanor meant the Duke still had some time left. A young woman with light blonde hair tied in a severe knot sat at the side of the bed. Hob assumed she must be the Duke's daughter, Sala, who had sent for him. Her face, worn with worry, almost broke into relief as she saw him. "You must be the music healer. Please sit." Sala got up and gestured at the carved chair next to the bed. Hob pulled the chair a little closer to the bed, took his lute out of his case, and began to tune its 15 strings by ear. The instrument had suffered from severe temperature shock. One of the gut frets had loosened, and every string was out of tune. Sensing the impatience of the Duke's daughter, he mumbled, "It must be tuned correctly." The next few hours were crucial. The daughter might decide they didn't need a music healer after all, and then it would be a miserable climb back down the hill, through the snow in his stiff, still wet clothes, no payment for his effort. Thus, Hob had to pick the piece to begin his treatment of the Duke with great care for favorable first impressions, as well as long-term success. He chose a Passacaglia. It began with a slow, descending minor scale, setting a mood of sorrow and lament. Upon this simple theme, he embroidered increasingly complex diminutions. All the while he shot glances at his patient, Duke Alexander. He had a great mass of white blonde hair that looked ill-matched to the rest of him, whatever was left of him. His face might once have been handsome, but now was ravished by illness. It still could go either way. "He is mine," a cold, familiar voice said. Death had approached the Duke's bedside now, wrapped in his rippling cloak, casting shifting shadows that made it impossible to discern him clearly. "That remains to be seen," Hob said as he strummed through a series of chords in steel brisé. "You and I will have a fair struggle over this. Duke Alexander's life force is spent. Your efforts are useless," Death's voice intoned. Hob was well acquainted with Death's psychological warfare tactics. This was just the beginning. As the final chord ended and Death melted back into his hiding place, Hob suddenly felt very tired. He smiled at Sala, who'd come in again. She cast one long look at her father and could not discern any difference.